morning, everybody. Greetings once again. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning on the Inside Show on YouTube. Yes, just hit that subscribe button if you didn't do that as yet. And then next to the subscribe button is a little bell. If you can maybe just click on that bell and you will get to know what we are doing every day on the Inside Show. So this morning you are with Talk with Joan on a Thursday. And yes, like any other Thursday, we are once again here. And remember last week we said we are having a continuation on the grieving process. And today we are tackling a topic that's asking a question actually. And our topic for this morning is it possible to prepare for death? Can we really prepare for death? I don't think so. So yes, this morning I have beautiful, wonderful ladies in our midst, and then a gentleman who is our family counselor with me again here today, and I'm sure you know him by now. So I'm going to ask my guests just if they can please introduce themselves to everybody. Yay! And then we will roll with our conversation. So yes, I'm going to give it over. Today it is gentleman first because he's the only thorn amongst these roses.
Good morning. I'm the only rose among the thorns. Good morning. Well, my name is Neil Hudsenberg. I'm the family counseling pastor at Crystal Church, and I'm glad to be here this morning. Also, I want to remind you that I'm an anchor on a lot of shows that will be coming up, and I've got a segment called Ask Neil. So if there's anything that you'd like to ask, it doesn't matter what it is, please do put it on YouTube and Facebook. Ask the questions. If I can't answer it, Joan will.
Yeah.
So this morning, thank you so much for having us on the show, and we're excited for what God is going to do this morning. Thank you.
Yes, and if Joan can't, Sonia can.
Oh, yes.
Hilda.
Good morning, everyone. What an honor and a privilege to be on this show called Inside. My name is Hilda Sons. I'm the wife of the late Bishop Basil Sons. I am the visionary of New Life Prophetic Ministry. I oversee 6 other ministries, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here today. I'm a mentor. I've got a lot of mentees. I'm a mother and a grandmother, and the Lord is my light and my salvation. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. And then we're going to go over to our very own.
Good morning, everyone. What a privilege it is for me to be here as well. Thank you, Pastor John, for the invite. So my name is Ethne Dalport, and I'm the wife of the late Pastor Owen Dalport. We have 2 children, Kirsten and Cade, and we're from the AFM Apostolic Faith Mission in Bosmont and Riverlea.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being on the Inside Show once again. Awesome guest. I'm so looking forward. So you know me, if you check my WhatsApp status, my Facebook update, you will know who I am.
Yeah.
And I roll by less answers and more questions, because when we ask questions, it reveals the answers. Hope you enjoy the show today with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming here this morning and sharing your story, because I know that your story can help someone out there, and that is why we are on the Inside Show. Well, without further ado, we're going to just go into this topic this morning, and I know there's such a lot of, I can actually feel next to me, these butterflies in these tummies of my sisters. But yes, we are here to tell our stories, because I believe that our stories and our testimonies, which was our tests at first, now our testimonies that we are sharing. So yes, we all know that while the loss of any significant person in your life is profound, perhaps the most complex of all relationships are those individuals we choose to be with for a lifetime. Those who share our hopes, and dreams, our sorrows and our tragedies, those who share our triumphs and our joys. And then suddenly the death of a spouse or partner marks the end of a once shared beautiful life, a life that no one else knows. And then the absence of this may create a painful void. And that is what we are all about here today. Is it possible that we can prepare, especially for the death of a spouse or a partner? And even so, while we are serving, while we are in ministry, and this is real, we are living in a real life, and we can see the devastations that's going on all around us. We can see what COVID-19 is actually doing in this world today. And we have with us Hilda and Ethne, who will really share their stories, and we're gonna start off with it here this morning. And I'm going to start off with Ethne. I would really like you to tell me a little bit about your loved one. If you can maybe just tell us a little bit about your loved one.
Okay, so sure, where do I start? So my husband was, he had quite a big personality. I think everybody that knew him knows that he was quite outspoken. We were the total opposites, you know, and I think that's why they say opposites attract.
That's true.
And in fact, he always said, he always preached it in the church. When he prayed for a wife, he said to God, I want somebody who's quiet. And you know, and God gave him that, you know.
True.
So we complemented one another quite well. But he was very, he loved people. So I could see from the start that this was his ministry. He loved being in the ministry. And in fact, in the beginning, he actually he kicked against it, you know, his calling, because he went quite late into ministry to the Bible school and to finish his studies. And even then he was like, you know, I don't know if this is for me. But everybody that knew him could see that, no, definitely he had a calling on his life. And in fact, the pastor that we served under just before we went full-time, Pastor Quipman, said, I could see Owen, you know, and the ministry, and even Pastor Stan Carolus, they said, no, we have to start grooming this guy because there's something in him that he needs to minister to people. So eventually, yes, he went through the 3 years compulsory training, another 2 years of, ministry, in the ministry, actually getting practical experience because that was the requirement. And thereafter, immediately we were into the ministry, you know.
Yes.
We were still young, we had young kids, and what a shock it was to come into ministry. Because I think sometimes your expectation and what the reality is two different things. Yeah, very different.
I fully agree with you.
But that's my husband. Yeah.
Okay. Right, thank you so much. We heard a little bit about Ethne's husband, the late Pastor Owen Delport. Now we're going over to Hilda. If you can tell us a little bit about your husband.
My husband was Basil's son, an amazing man. He was a people's person. My husband he loved soccer. And he was a sprinter. He was a powerful athlete. He used to run at school. And I met my husband, and there was just something that drew us. And we were an awesome team. We also complemented each other, but it was something so unique that was God orchestrated and God ordained. My husband and I went into ministry together. We didn't understand. We were serving in the Lutheran church. When I met my husband, I was in NG and he was in Lutheran, and obviously I went over. And when I met my husband, it was when we went into ministry. It happened like suddenly, because we were serving in the church. He was an elder. I was the deaconess. And you know how you do the books of the church, and you're busy and you serve. And then just one evening, Pastor Neil, we were in the service. A prophecy went out. and you don't know about prophecy because you're in a charismatic church, and then you know there's a call in your life. And we started working together, and Basil was somebody that loved kids. My husband loved people. He had a driving school, and he ministered while teaching the learners to drive. And about maybe 30 or 40% in our ministry is people that came to the Lord whilst he was teaching them to drive. He was my best friend. I was actually sometimes jealous. He had a beautiful relationship with his daughters. I lost my eldest son in 1996, so we've got 2 girls, Chantal and Genevieve, Pastor Chantal and Prophetess Genevieve, and my beautiful grandchildren. And Basil looked after his kids. Bishop's sons looked after his children. They had an unusual relationship. I have my mum-in-law currently, but I just want to say this. If I had another opportunity, I'd marry the same man. He was my best friend. He was my soulmate.
Yes.
He was my everything. He used to, if I had an invite, Lady S knows, he would look at it, and sometimes he would say no, and I couldn't understand why, and later I'd understand. And that's Basil. Loved everybody. My husband was an amazing person, people's person. He
Wonderful.
was also PRO for the taxis, and he was just had a great personality.
Yes, awesome. So we know that, with all these beautiful, great personalities that we have in the form of Bishop Basil's sons, as you can see, that is Bishop Basil's sons, and then our Pastor Owen Delport. These are beautiful men of God who served in the kingdom, and we have their wives here with us. And so this morning I would like to ask you, maybe Ethne, if you can just tell us a little bit, when Owen passed on that day, what happened on that specific day?
Okay, so I don't know, do you just want that day, or can I go back a little bit?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so, it happened just shortly after Father's Day. Pastor Owen got ill. The strangest thing that I always think about is that he had flu-like symptoms. He was sick. He didn't want to eat. He had a fever at night, and we went to the chemist, got him some medication, and he was taking that. But even today, and constantly I'm questioning myself, because none of us actually thought that he had COVID. Not even him, not myself, not the children, not the family, not the church people, because he sent a voicemail to say he's not feeling well. He's ill, please pray for me. But nobody said, it was like just a blinker on all of us.
Because isn't it that time we didn't really know a lot about this COVID?
And that's the thing. I think we just automatically assumed he's ill and he's got the flu, and we treated him for that. And then eventually, after a week, the next Sunday, I could see he's not getting better. So I said to him, okay, let's go to the doctor and let's just hear what's happening, because now he was getting quite weak. And then obviously when we came there, they've got this protocols. You're not allowed to come in and first go for a test. And at that time, Joan, like you said, it was different. So you had to go to a hospital. We went to Flora Clinic, and there was this long queue that we had to actually stand in and wait for all of us to get tested, the whole family. And in fact, that day, when I look back, as a family, myself and the 2 kids and Owen were in the car. And now when I look back, it was actually time for us to, not knowing that is the last time that we're going to be together as a family. We spent the whole day in the car together. So first, 8 o'clock, we got up, went to the doctor. Owen was so weak, he couldn't walk himself. So the kids and I went in. The doctor gave a letter, and then we went to Flora Clinic. We stood in the line. My son and Owen sat in the car. Kirsten and I were standing in the sun the whole day. Eventually, 5 o'clock we came. 5 o'clock we came, and then we were tested. And then we called him and my son, and they came together, and they did the test. And we went home. So they said 2 days after that, they'll let us know. But the night, I could see he was sitting in the lounge and he was just not himself. He was just weak. He wasn't this bubbly personality that we knew. And in fact, I think after a full day of being up and down, the family was quite frustrated. And on our way home, it's sometimes so sad to think that was also some of his last words to us. He says, "Take it a notch down, guys. Take it a notch down."
Wow.
Because we were carrying on and as a family and frustrated because now you don't know. And then I said to him, "No, can we take you to the hospital? Can I take you to..." And he said yes. Then I knew he was sick because he was never in hospital. He never ever went to a doctor. And then he still gave us instructions. Okay, pack this, make sure that's in, put my slippers in and that. And we were packing his bags and then we took him back to Valgejavel. So when we came in, obviously they didn't allow us in. But I went in and booked him in and then he sat in the ER and then they asked us, to leave because obviously we told them we went for the COVID test. So they took him and they booked him in and we went home, the three of us. And my daughter, funny enough, was also quite ill. But my son and I, eventually when the test came back, we were all positive,
Oh, okay.
She was quite ill, also had trouble breathing. So when they took him in, the first day they found us to say no, they've taken him to high care. So because he's really breathing quite badly. And then the next minute we just heard they found me back. No, your husband is in ICU. We've had to put him on a ventilator. So quickly his condition deteriorated. But I knew because for a whole week and a half, he hasn't eaten. He didn't want to eat. He didn't drink anything. So by that time, he was quite weak already. And then the 2 weeks that followed after that was such an emotional roller coaster for us as a family.
So was your daughter
she was
ill
at home.
before him?
No. So together.
So
we were at home in isolation. She was very ill, couldn't breathe. We couldn't go out, but the support structure was quite amazing because the family would drop off food and, so I had my daughter at home struggling with her. She couldn't breathe, and my son and I. And then also on the other hand, my husband is in hospital, he's in ICU, he's on a ventilator, and every day actually.
So you couldn't even speak to him?
Couldn't speak to him. I had to rely on the doctor and the nurses to give us feedback. Every day, either I would have to phone or the doctor would phone. The doctor's on his rounds and he'd say, "I'd let you know, Mrs. Delport." And you want to be there.
Yes,
you want to be there. That's the thing.
True.
This is the man that
true. This is the man who we shared our dreams together. We shared our joys and our frustrations and everything together.
Yeah.
And now I must leave him just there
and
alone.
On his own, And it was the most emotionally draining and just frustrating process because you don't know what to do and you reached out and I posted on Facebook and everybody was praying. All over the country, Cape Town, we got calls, everybody, and people were really positive. No, Pastor Owen's going to make it. And,
true.
And we had such hope as a family. We even started fasting and praying and just believing that and in fact, one of my sister-in-laws was saying, Owen's coming out with a great testimony. This is his test, and we're looking forward to that testimony. And so eventually, after a week when he was in ICU, I said to the doctor, "Is it not possible?" And then he said, "No, Mrs. Delport, it's a COVID ward, it's ICU, you can't." And then I think just the favor of God, he phoned me back like 2 hours. He says, "Okay, I've decided you can come in to see your husband."
Wow.
And immediately when I phoned the family, And in hindsight, my one sister-in-law is a nurse, and she said, you know, Ethne, the minute you phoned and told me that the doctor said you can come, I thought Owen's gonna not make it.
Yeah.
So that was everybody's feeling, and they actually came with us to the doctor. They came with us to the hospital. The family were parked outside in the cars, and I went in and, you know, dressed and covered in this whole COVID outfit, and it was horrible just to see him in the ward, you know. It was the most you know, to see your husband lying there and just being dependent on a machine to breathe. And also they fastened his hands.
They do that.
Yeah, because I think
they do
they
that.
try and pull out
because they pull it out,
Yes, yeah.
Your body apparently, when I looked at it, your body goes into some form of aggression. And therefore, I don't know what they call it now. I had the medical name. And therefore they tie their hands. Yeah.
But just to see that, I mean,
it's a horrible thing.
Lying there and his hands is tied, and I'm thinking this independent man is now tied up, you know, like a prisoner. And but what I did is then I had my cell phone with me, so I did some video calls with all his brothers and sisters, and they prayed for him. You know, I let them see him and talk to him, and you could see.
Yeah.
He reacted, you know, even though he was sedated,
Awesome.
but his eyes, the movement of his eyes, and obviously the whole time while I was there, he didn't speak to me, or he couldn't. I mean, if you're sedated, but it was awesome for his family, and they also now in hindsight said, you know, we didn't know we were actually saying goodbye to our brother.
Sure,
you know,
while you actually put him on.
Yes.
Wow.
So that was the Friday, and the doctors actually said to me I can go back the Saturday again. But
so when they allowed you in, didn't you think for any moment that they know more than what they're actually saying?
I didn't think of it that way, because I actually asked the doctor. I was pleading with him. I said, I need to see my husband. I want to be with him. And it wasn't the other way around where he phoned me to say, Mrs. Dalport, come in. I think you need to just be with your husband. I actually kept on asking him, I need to see my husband. I just need to. And then eventually he gave in and he said, okay, you can come in. And I think the reason why he did that is because I was also positive. So so you wouldn't have.
Yes.
And obviously the next day I couldn't go in because somehow I just felt, I think the emotions and just seeing him, and I couldn't even get out of bed the Saturday because I was just so overwhelmed with emotions and and just seeing your husband helpless, you know, laying there and not knowing what's going on. But amazingly, the next couple of days, and I put it to the fact that maybe because he spoke to all his brothers and sisters, and I was there, and the kids, and he started improving. His oxygen levels went up. In fact, they even went as far as saying they want to remove the ventilator, and they want to do a tracheotomy. So, in other words, put the tube in and then let him breathe on his own. So, wow, we were actually overjoyed because, I mean, things were looking up now.
I remember because I know Zinia kept us up to date because you spoke to her. So, I remember that. That they said, no, he's getting better. And that was a joyful moment.
Yeah, it was really.
But then it wasn't like that.
Yeah, it was like for the next couple of days, he was improving. In fact, these oxygen levels, they actually showed us from 59 went up to 87. And so that's amazing. I mean, it means he's breathing as well. And we had so much hope that, you know, this was now the time he's going to come out. And so, and then eventually, when was it? I think so that was, the next week, the Sunday. And in fact, what happened that day that he passed away was it was so strange because in the house we were obviously still under quarantine. We didn't want to expose anybody, so we didn't have family over or anything. It was just the updates, and even like I said, that whole experience was just so draining emotionally because you have to
I can
update your
imagine
family,
then.
and if you don't say anything, what's happening with
Yes,
Owen?
yes,
What's,
yes.
you know,
Yeah.
did you hear
Yes.
anything?
And
Then
you also not
yes,
well, that
yeah,
your daughter is so
yes,
sick
yes, yes. And the church people, how's pastor doing? You know, and two
Yeah.
ministries, you know, so you have to keep all the church
People,
WhatsApp
yeah.
people up to date, and the two families. I have a big family. Pastor Owen has a big family. And then you have the extended cousins,
Yeah.
Rhines and Doyles
Yeah,
and Pintos, and
yeah.
everybody wants to know. But the Sunday, there was just such a quiet mood, the morning. And in fact, we were all laying. And the afternoon, even, I was laying on the bed, but I could clearly hear him calling.
Wow.
I heard him call my
Wow.
name. Because I was laying and I actually woke up
Wow.
like that, Ethne, and I looked around to see where he was, you know, and I thought, oh, okay, it must have been a dream, you know. And I went back and I just laid on the bed. And then we got up and we were just going about normal business. And later the night, I was sitting and I left my phone in the lounge. And then when I came back, I had seen these 3 missed calls from the hospital. And it was so difficult because you just, okay. So I said to myself, I need to, maybe they're saying he's better. We must come and get him and let me not be negative. And I phoned back and the nurse answered and he says, is that Mrs. Dalport? It was the male nurse that I dealt with all the time. And I said, yes. And he said, Mrs. Dalport, I'm so sorry, but your husband didn't make it.
No.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not the words that anybody wants to hear.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And, but meanwhile, because I'd missed the calls, the hospital also phoned his brother because I put his brother on as an emergency contact. So he was already on his way to our house because he thought we didn't know. But when we came there, obviously as a family we knew that he didn't make it. And then the whole family was there, you know, all my brothers and sisters. And yeah, the house was instantly full just with people. And it was just the most horrible time, I think, in our lives because he was just so full of life.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like
Yes,
I
yes.
said, he was the life of the party. He
Yes,
made his own
yes,
selfie
yes.
videos.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, this person just
Yeah.
was gone.
Sure.
And we still battling to
Yeah,
understand.
I can just imagine.
Mm.
And yeah, coming back, we just pray and trust God with you that He will strengthen you and the
That's
family
right.
because that's not an easy situation that you're actually going through emotionally. It's very draining. So yeah, we will keep on praying for you, you know, to just, that is why we have the Inside Show. It's for people like you to tell your stories. And because I fully believe, I'm a believer in the fact that if you talk about it, you get healing. You get inner healing. And therefore, I love the stories. And so, yeah, we are actually now going over and we want to ask Hilda if you can maybe tell us what happened that day when Bishop passed on.
Wow, Bishop didn't have COVID. In December, we went over to our branch to go and dedicate people and baptize and also install deacons and elders. and I think a spider bit him, but we didn't know.
Yeah,
So during the week he got this severe pain, and then that happened in December. And then we found out then when they said
But
that
you guys also took him from hospital to hospital, am I right?
on that day, but just
Okay,
to give a little bit of
yeah,
background, we
yeah.
didn't know he was diabetic until
Okay.
the spider bit him. And Dr.
Really?
Fix said, yes, Dr. Fix said, take him to the hospital. That's now in December. Take him to the hospital so that they can drain the poison. Now to get back to when it happened, so that weekend of Father's Day, normally when it's Father's Day, the youth and the women will do the service, and obviously it was done at home due to COVID. So my husband says, he sits there, and but he's not participating like he always does. He was just very quiet. And we noted it, myself and Chantal and Genevieve noted it, and we spoke about it, but Bishop wasn't sick, he was
Yes.
quiet. And in that same week, Father's Day was the 21st on a Sunday. On Thursday, when he came back after doing driving lessons, he was cold. He was feeling very cold. So I took the sugar count, and it was 20.8, which to us is very high because it's never been like that. So now he never wanted to go to the hospital or doctor or anything. So he made soup, nursed him, and he stayed in bed for the better part of that afternoon. On Friday, Chantal said, Ma, Chantal was at home. She had just had a baby. Baby was 6 weeks old. So Chantal says, Mom, please take my father to the doctor. So I go to the doctor with her dad, and I think Genevieve helped me, and we go to Dr. Valap. And then when the doctor saw him, he said to me, bring him right through. So he was weak, he couldn't walk. From going out yesterday, on Thursday, on Friday
Goodness
morning,
me.
on Friday morning he's not okay.
Yeah.
This man is praying
Yeah.
all night. This man is praying, Pastor Neil. And there's something about my husband's behavior that we as ladies, the girls in the house are saying, is they leaving us? Did you hear what he's saying? Like you say something to Chantal like, you must come sleep with your mom, because I don't need to sleep here anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yo.
I promise you, and every morning at 6 o'clock, my story is so different. You're going to think I'm churchifying it, but we served God. We have a personal relationship with the Holy Spirit. And my husband must have known he's going, because if you hear the stories afterwards. But anyway, so I take him to Dr. Valap, and they put him on a drip. And Dr. Valap calls me, and he says, Mrs. Sanch, you know what? His body's rejecting the drip. Now listen to me, Sonia. They put there on a drip, 10 o'clock. 6 o'clock, I'm still at the surgery, and this drip his body's rejecting the drip.
Sure.
Dr. Valap at 6 o'clock looks me in my eye and takes another count, and it's 16.5. And he says, go home, you will not eat. I don't know if I'll see you tomorrow, but if you have to bring him, I don't read the fine print. If you have to bring him, I'm just going to give you a letter. So that night, and then he gives me insulin, because my husband wasn't on insulin. So I buy this insulin for 1,000 and what? Because now we don't have medical aid and whatever. So I buy this insulin from him and take it home. 3 o'clock, now the children aren't sleeping. 3 o'clock, Jenna comes and she says to me, Mommy, come, let's administer it, because she helps me take a count. And then we see now it's 16, and then we want to get it down. So we ask him, can we give you some insulin? He says, yes. So we give him the insulin, and the doctor said, only give him 0 Sprite and 0 Coke. He preferred water. So we would give him water and try and get him to drink the Coke. No, he wants water. And then the doctor said, bring him back by 12 on Saturday morning. Saturday morning, my husband's not okay. You can see he's not okay, even though they don't want to say it, Ethne. You know him. This is your lifetime partner. You know when
How
they're
long
okay.
were you married?
38 years.
Sure.
38 years. So now, can I take you to the doctor? He says, maybe you should. He says, sons, don't bring the girls. I said, but I'm going to need help. So then now Chantal is the strong one. Chantal you will not know what she's feeling until she lashes out.
Yeah.
So Chantal, that day we decided, I said to Jenna, let me take Chantal because you went yesterday, because I don't want her to feel that she's not part of whatever happens in the home. So now Jenna's going to babysit. But Jenna runs out of the house as soon as we put there in the car. She comes out and she throws herself on her father, and she starts, and I'm looking at the way this child is greeting her father, but he's just going to the doctor. And then I come back from the doctor with a letter, because the doctor looked at him, took a count, and gave me a letter and sealed the letter. So I took the letter and I went back home to take a bag. I had packed the bag because I wanted him to get to a hospital. So the COVID test negative. There's no worries about that. It's diabetes we worry about. So then Jenna comes out again and lays on her dad, and he holds her, and they're greeting like they're not going to see each other again. So Chantal and I drive. Now there's this mission to get this man to hospital. All the hospitals don't want to take him. I go to Bara, and then eventually I do speak Sotho. I speak to this guy, he helps me, but the porter looks at my husband and he says, put this man on a stretcher, not on a chair. So he puts him on a stretcher and we push him in, and this porter goes and he goes speaks to the doctor at casualty. And the man looks at me, and there's a guy there, he's busy taking his temperature and whatever this guy said to him, he says, push him through. So we push him in, and he looks at my husband and he reads the letter and he takes the sugar. Then he says to me, okay, let's go get an ECG. Then Chantel and I is pushing my husband. Then he flatlines when they put this thing on his heart, like in zero, like in everything that is red. And he shows me, don't let Chantel see that. But Chantel saw it. And in my heart, I'm thinking, this man flatlined, but he's talking. But do you know, Christ in me, the hope, how you go in denial, and you want this man to breathe. So then he lifts himself up, and the doctor said to me, okay, you can put on his shirt again, and I take him. So we go out, and he says to me, I need you to take him next to, I don't know if anybody knows, next to Bara, there's Lily Ngoy Clinic. So he says, we full here, and it's all COVID, and this man doesn't have COVID, so I'm not going to keep him here. So I go to Lily Ngoy, they read the letter, they said, there's a lot of COVID here, we can't take him. Go to Jabulani, go to Shawela Clinic, all this driving. Now it's already almost 6 o'clock, so Chantel and I decide to go to Helen Joseph. Get to Helen Joseph. As I push him in, I drive the car in, leave Chantel there with him, go park the car, come back, then the address. So while they're arguing the address, I quickly changed it to his cousin's address in High Avenue in Westbury. And then after this argument, she realizes no, but he is allowed, because then it's not their jurisdiction and it's not their whatever, they can't see him. And then I say to her, then I hear somebody scream, Dr. Bana. And then I do the same. I said, Dr. Bana, there's many doctors walking, so this guy comes back. I said, can you help my husband, please? He says, what's wrong with him? I said, he's a diabetic, and I think he just needs some help. But by then, this man is so weak, he can't walk, so I've got him on this wheelchair. And the doctor says, well, there's nothing I can do for him. We don't take people. I said, he's not people. He's a human being. What happened to your oath to go that extra mile to say? I said, if anything happens to my husband, remember whenever you see anybody else that Basil's son's died because you refused to help him. Because now this man, I can see my husband's sugar level is going down.
Sure.
And then another guy comes and he walks past and he says, Mom, what can I do for you? So I quickly speak to him in a language. I said to him, look, my husband needs help. I said, this is my husband. He needs help. He doesn't have COVID. I said, there's tests, open this. He says, no, he can't, but he's going to see what I can do. So this Dr. Bana in the meantime comes back. He says, you know, I feel so guilty. What can I do for you? I said, give him a drip. Because Dr. Valab said, put him on a drip, it's going to help to push it up quickly. So I said, can't you give him a drip? He says, well, I'm not putting him in the wards. I'll give him a drip here, right here. You know where it says try it and whatever, right there in the corridors. He's going to give him a drip right there. That's good enough for me. I said, look, if you give me the drip, I can administer it because I've seen how it's done. But surely you won't allow me to because I'm not qualified to. So can you do it? And then some matron or whatever comes down the passage. And I'm wondering, everybody that's been making a noise is quiet. So this woman must have authority. Whilst you're pushing your husband around, you're praying in tongues, eh? Remember, as the mother and the wife.
Yeah.
You as a woman of God. First Peter says, our salvation will save our family and also make our husband become saved. So now you need to remember that you are a tool in the master's hand. Remember one thing. You are married to this man. This is your friend. But not for 1 minute do you ever forget about this God and your commitment to God. So you need to think on your feet.
Yes.
So now you need to understand how to carry yourself. Because this man looks at you and he sees hope in your eyes. Because whatever he looks like, he'll see in your face. So I've got to think like that. And then this woman comes in, there's a change, and she says, why is this man getting a drip out here like he's just a peasant or something? And I said, I beg them for this drip. She says, what is the problem? And I explained to her. She opens the letter and she asks this doctor, why is he not admitted? Put him far from the COVID things because he has it. He doesn't have COVID. So they take him in and said, I must go sit outside. They'll call me. 2 hours go by, 3 hours go by, but you see all the ambulances coming in, and you see all the mortuary vans, and you sit there and you're praying. Chantel and I are sitting outside by the door, and it's cold. It's in June. Sitting outside the door and looking at all this movement, and I'm waiting, and then I go to the security and I say to her, my name is Hilda Sons. My daughter is hungry. I'm going to get her something to eat. Remember, she's breastfeeding.
Okay,
I said, I'm going to get her something to eat, but please, you let me know if they're looking for me. My husband is Bishop Basil's Sons, I say to her. And I quickly went to is it Auckland Park to get Chantel, and then I buy this woman a burger too from McDonald's. When we come back, she says, they just called your name. So I went in and she said to me, look, we're still busy with him. We did a COVID test, it's now a negative. It's definitely the diabetes, so can you still stay? Don't leave until I tell you to leave. Then another hour maybe went by and she says, the bishop is calling you, but she looks like the bishop wants to see you. So I said, are you going to keep him? She says, yes. I quickly rushed to the car. Now, by then I've left Chantel in the car because it's cold. And I bring the bag and I walk in and he's in a cubicle, far from everybody else. He's all on his own and he just opens his arms and we start praying in tongues. We don't talk. We start praying and he says, now you pray for me. And I prayed a very strange prayer. I thank God for my husband. I thank the Lord for my husband's life. I thank God that he's my husband and that he's coming home. And I said, I'll see you soon. You know that I can't be here long. And while we're talking, the nurse comes and I give him his phones, 2 phones and the charger and everything and the blanket and his pajamas and everything. And then they escort me out. But now they minister to you that, look, you can't come see him. Due to COVID, you won't be able to see him. But is this your phone number? Yes, everything is fine. So Sunday we speak to my husband the whole day. You know us, very close. We spoke, the whole day we spoke to my husband. Sunday evening, he phoned us at 9 o'clock, and then his phone was quiet. He said he's tired, he's going to rest, but he sounded fine. On Monday, his phone was busy. We tried to call him, and his phone was busy, but then I just said, maybe they're doing testing and things. But I'm positive my husband is fine, because he's a diabetic. Then Monday evening, my husband phones me at 9 o'clock. After I spoke to him, I think at about 6 o'clock, and he said he's fine. 9 o'clock he phones, he says, you never called me, Hilda. Sons, you need to keep one number open. You've got 2 phones. I'm going to give the hospital 064 number. I said, it's fine. He says, they're going to call you tomorrow. You need to charge this phone and make sure that this phone is on because the hospital is going to need to speak to you tomorrow. So I'm so excited my husband is coming home tomorrow. My husband, Pastor Neil, puts the phone. I know the girls want to speak. We're all on the bed in my room, baby and all. And no, he doesn't want to speak to the children. It's fine. You tell the children that the hospital will phone you tomorrow. I don't read. Joan, so now we do our prayer because we were waiting for the call. 9 o'clock is our family altar. We pray, but we don't go apart. We stay in the room together. 3:45 the next morning, the phone rang. And I let Genevieve answer. I can't even remember. One of the girls answered, and they wanted to speak to Yoda's sons. And the nurse says, what is your ID number? And I give her my ID number. And then she says, so strange. She doesn't say Mr. Sons. So she says, Bishop Sons has passed on.
Sure.
So I remember saying, really? And I passed the phone to Chantel because she was right here. And then she said, Bishop Sons passed on. And I was numb. My friend... my bestie, my mother and my father, he was my everything. He left, first of all, when I didn't see he was going because he wasn't that sick. So now I don't know how I felt it. Joan, I don't know what I felt at that moment. Other than that, I'm going to be on my own with these kids. But then this thing comes. The children are looking at you. Pull yourself together.
Yes, true.
So Chantel just took over. She's such a strong girl. She took over and she started letting people know. I couldn't. And the strangest thing happened. My late brother's son comes in. Uncle Basil phoned me last night and he said, you're going to need me this morning. He said, I must be here by 6 o'clock, but I must bring money.
Oh,
and then there's my parents, my brother's son. And then his late brother's son comes also with money. He says, they called me, because we all called him there. They said, I must be here tomorrow morning. You're going to need me. The guy that looks after the church says, Bishop called me and said, I must come and clean the yard because you're getting visitors. 6 o'clock in the morning. Sure. You're getting visitors. They said, I must come and clean the yard for you. I said, I'm sorry they passed on. That guy couldn't believe it. He says, but I spoke to him. He told me what to do. He told me that I needed to be here for you. And after cleaning, I must go clean the church. Because you might need the church. It was very strange. It was very strange.
So it's almost like he had a feeling.
You know, I so badly wanted Chantel to come along because he apparently, I went to a women's conference in December and he had an encounter with God. He had an encounter in the hospital. On the same night that he trained. Can I speak about it?
Our time is a little bit.
Yeah, I'm worried. But anyway, long story short, he knew he was going. All the testimonies that came out, the people that came to sympathize, he knew, Pastor John.
Okay. Yo, it is,
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys cope, and that's my question now.
Yeah.
Being in the ministry together, I'm going to ask Ethne that. Being in the ministry together, sharing life together for so many years, having children together, and now all of a sudden, I would like to ask, therefore, is it possible that you can prepare for something like this, a life partner that you shared life with? Is it possible being in the ministry together, praying together, as Hilda said, they prayed together, and we all in the kingdom, we know exactly what to do. So you do the things that you are familiar with, that you think is the right thing to do. So is it really possible that you can prepare for death of a loved one so close? What would you say?
I just want to echo what Pastor Hilda said. I think God prepares the person that dies. They know, because my husband.
I think so.
In fact, my husband told me the week before we were lying on the bed, he was lying next to me, his head was here, and he said to me, I'm busy dying, you need to pray for me. That's what he said to me.
Wow.
Just like that, he said to me, I'm busy dying, you need to pray for me. And I said, don't talk
You're going to
nonsense.
start talking things like that.
But then I thought, okay, and I sent a WhatsApp to the church group, because I thought, okay, let them pray for him, because maybe he's just not in a good space, And when I checked back that, I sent the message at 9:15, and the Sunday 9:15, he passed away.
Wow.
So, and also in hindsight, when we look back, his notes, his last sermon notes, he had highlighted, I've run my race.
Wow.
I finished my course.
Now.
Yes,
Yeah.
I actually took photos
crown
of it,
is
and
laid down
I
fully.
sent it to all his brothers and sisters and my brothers and sisters, so he knew.
Yes.
He knew, he wrote it down, I've done. And then in there also he says, you need to be champions, you need to carry on. And that was a sermon that he was preparing, little knowing that it was his last sermon that... so God prepares the person for their death, but I think there's no way that he prepares the families, because I think you just the plans, the future that we had so many plans. We actually just bought a place in Margate together. We were going to retire in the next 5 years. That's what our plans were. He was preaching about it to the church and saying, you need to have a vision for your life. Look at me and my wife. We've bought a place. In the next 5-10 years, we're going to be at the ocean. We're going to spend our lives there. So nothing prepares you for that, Pastor John. Nothing prepares you. And in fact, I spoke to a colleague, because I went to work for the first time since lockdown. We've been working from home. And she said to me, I don't know how you do it. I don't know, because she said, I wouldn't have been able to cope with this. But I think many times you think you can't.
You can't, but
like Pastor Hilda says, there's something about God that is just different, you know.
Yes.
And from the moment that my husband passed, I have been telling my family, I don't know what it is, but there is a presence in the house that I don't know. I always said, I thought it was my husband. I said I can feel him, and I feel. And my sister-in-law was sharing with me that another woman, her husband died, and she didn't want to be in the house. She was afraid to be in the house. And I said, it's so strange, because I want to be in the house. I want to be there. And then we ended up having a prayer meeting with some of we on one committee with Pastor Berry, Berry Pereira and Sister Days, and we had an online prayer meeting, and they invited a prophet, And it was so strange because we were supposed to just have a prayer meeting online. Then she started prophesying over everybody. She said, this is what God is laying on my heart, and I need to talk to each one of you. And then when she came to me, and she was Afrikaans.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can speak Afrikaans.
you
What she
can.
said.
Yeah, you can.
She said, Ethnie, ek wil jou sê, die Here het 'n boodskap vir jou. Hy sê, hy tabernakel kom maak in jou huis.
How awesome is that?
Oh.
Wow.
And I knew what was that presence that I
Yeah.
felt. God himself came to stay in my house. Because up until today, I find it so difficult to leave my house because there is just such an awesome presence and people don't understand. And they've been saying, you are so strong, and I'm not strong by myself. You
come
know,
on.
I'm
Yes,
not
yes,
strong by
yes.
myself because if this presence wasn't there, I wouldn't have made it. Because this
Absolutely.
man was my life. You know, he was my lifeline. Used to pick me up every day from work. Used to wait downstairs, send me WhatsApp messages. I'm downstairs, my darling. I'm around the corner, you can come out. I even shared all the WhatsApp messages with my family afterwards. But he was just so amazing. And I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm standing. But God, you know, there is... And I don't know, people make it...
He was an angel. He was an angel, and now he's an angel in heaven.
Yeah. I don't know how people make it without God, but I'm saying if there's ever anybody out there who doubts the presence of God, they just have to come to me and I can tell them, I physically feel the presence of God. I feel that comfort, you know, wherever I go. And God promised, I will be your husband.
Yes.
I will be the father to your children, you know. And that's exactly what I've been experiencing for these last 6 months.
So I know Hilda is carrying on with her life in the ministry, but because our time is so far-fetched, I would like to ask one question. You know, being in the church, you think that things like this won't happen to you because you're in ministry and you walk into the on a cloud per se, because that's how many of us feel, and we think we are immune from things like this. You know that no, we're under the blood and COVID cannot come close to our dwelling, and yes, we profess that and we still believe that, right? But now it hits, and so therefore I would like to ask Pastor Neil, can we actually prepare for death?
Well, Joan, I think that Ethnic couldn't have said it better. That God is God.
Yes.
And He will reveal, like if you take Hilda's story and you take Ethnic's story, there was a continual leading of God from the person. One fact that I know is that God prepares the person who dies.
Yeah.
He will say, you'll see there's times that they don't want to look at you when they're dying, they don't want to have anything. Shield the children, don't let the children come nearby, others want them close.
They were too close, yeah.
So in terms of that, I think that no one can prepare for this event in one's life. No one.
Right.
Because we are people of hope.
Yes.
And it is this thing, you share the rest of your life with this person.
True.
You had dreams, you had aspirations, you had all of these things. And so you can hear the doctor say, won't make it. But in your heart, he will make it.
Yeah.
Because you are attached to him and you do. And I think the hope that we have as people, we will never ever be fully prepared. You hear how people in hindsight say, if I only picked up on this, if I only picked up on that. I don't know, is that God's way of making us not see that? But I believe that we will never fully be prepared for any event like death. Somebody said to me one day, if there's one flop that God made, was to allow us to experience somebody dying. It was from a deep place of hurt, but it was real. It was real. So no one can really be fully prepared for the loss of a loved one because of the hope that we have in Christ Jesus. We have this hope, not like the things that go, and we believe it, and especially the two ladies who stood by their husbands in ministry, as you say, that here you are in ministry, you want to build this ministry, you're doing the work of God. I don't think it will come, and it hits.
It hits home.
It hits home. So I think from that point, a person will never, I think no one will ever be prepared for the loss of a loved one through death.
Because
if I
death
may,
is cold.
If I may, I just want to say something. there was a time that I was angry with Ethne. So Owen and I, Owen led me to the Lord, right?
He's confessing.
I was 13,
yeah.
I was 13 years old, and Owen led me to the Lord, and he was behind me all the time. You know, we were close. And then we get to matric, and then we go to a nice Stedford, and Owen comes back and said, Nilo, ek het my vrou gevind. I said, okay, that is good. The Stedford, I'll never forget, it was at the Reveille Hall. You were at Pastor Koopman, we were at Pastor Stan. And then, so I don't know when Owen went to ask Ethne, because he didn't tell me that part. We shared everything. I was so much with the Delport family that they thought I was one of the brothers. There was a photo they shared the other day. We are somewhere in Nelspruit, and here's Neil with the Delports. You can't see the difference between Neil and the Delports. We were always together, every Sunday lunch with them. And so from here, then he got the Peugeot, the yellow Peugeot. And after church, he just tell me, I'll see you in the evening service. Waar toe gaan jy?
Ethne, you took his friend away.
My friend. No, I'll see in the evening service, and he don't want to tell me.
Yay.
Now, he must come home because the evening service we played in the worship team. Then he come back. Oh, waar was je? Nee, I was there. I'll tell you. Then he came and he said, I'm by Ethne. I'm telling you, every Sunday, Owen is missing. He don't have lunch at home. He's in Horseshoe. So I just want to tell Ethne, but I'm good with that. He found his wife. And I must say one thing, that Owen loved you. We will never understand the love that he had for you. Later on, I think it was 2 years ago when I got him at our last deep conversation was at the licensing department. He took Kate, and he was in the Kumbi. So we're sitting there, I think, for about 2 hours. I say, brother, ek moet werk toe gaan. Hy sê, Nilo, wag man. And I think one of the things that he shared with me that day was how God had placed somebody in his life that will help him run the ministry, somebody who understands, somebody who God picked out and was able to actually make his ministry and make his decision to get into full-time ministry so much easier.
That's so awesome, Pastor Neil.
Yeah.
On that, I would like to say, sometimes we don't have a textbook, and we don't have as women, going into ministry with your partners. You don't really have anything to prepare you for what is waiting for you in the ministry. So therefore, it is so sometimes I don't know how to, but I feel this. To ask this question. I know I didn't prepare you guys for it, but I would like to ask this question. I know Hilda moved on, but to Ethne, you went into this ministry, you gave your everything to the ministry. I'm also a first lady. You know what I'm saying? Hilda is a first lady. You lost your... Just help me in this. Seeing that we cannot prepare, for... the death of a loved one. Tell me a little bit, so what is your role now? Who are you now? You were the first lady of that church. Your husband passed on, right? I know with Hilda, she took the reins because you did it together, but you are a silent person. You're the person that's in the background. You're the person that pushes, right? Who are you now? Where do you find yourself now? In the church, per se.
Yeah, and that is the difficult thing because, and I think that's why I was hoping you won't do the mirror, because at the moment I feel lost. That's the honest truth, because with the AFM it's so different. You know that they called only ordained pastors, and only the ordained pastor can lead the ministry, and they don't prohibit women from doing it. So I could have done it if I wanted to, but I was there with my husband. But going forward, I am. Yeah, you actually, my whole identity was wrapped up in my husband, because he was the pastor and I was the first lady, and
I thought about you so much.
And what now? Do people see you in the church?
As that same person.
because I can't carry on with where he left off. I can't. It's just not the way the structure works. The church board has to call another ordained pastor. So in a way, I'm glad for the lockdown because it has given me time just to think. Because now a new pastor's wife will come in. Do I stay as the third party? Do you submit to another pastor and his wife? Do you move on? So that's where I am. And unfortunately, the decision is up to me. There's nobody else that can tell me to sit.
Yes.
But I've been thinking, it's like if you're in a job and you resign and a new manager comes in, you hand over, and now all of a sudden you don't want to leave and you have two managers.
Yeah, true.
So I feel like a third wheel at the moment.
Yes.
And I don't know from here. It is so difficult. I've been praying. I've been asking God. But obviously, emotionally, I'm not in a space to make any decisions. So I don't know what God's plan is. Is it for me to stay? And most of his family have said, I need to stay and carry on his legacy. I said, but we've run our race together.
Yes, absolutely.
We've built
I can just imagine.
We've built Rivoli.
I put myself into your shoes. I can just imagine, honestly speaking.
And you don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I must stay. I don't know if I must leave.
And do the people still see you as that first lady? You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Do I still go into the church and take that front seat? Where do I find myself? Because he's no longer there. It's totally different if you are in a independent church. It's a different ball game altogether. But now. And that was in my spirit all the time, because that is when I pray for you, that is what comes to mind, to be quite honest with you. Where are you? Who are you? Who's ethnic? Because now I have to trace back and ask myself, who am I? Without Owen.
Yes.
So ethnic needs to come to the fore.
Yes.
Right? So now, Pastor Neil, with Hilda's situation now, she's in it. She's carrying on. My question from a counselor's perspective.
Can I say something just before Pastor speaks?
Okay.
Sorry, Pastor. Don't forget, it's not that easy for me either.
Yeah, that's why I want to go there.
First of all, not everybody believes that it was just a diabetic death, so they're also isolating us. Secondly, in the church, you mount the pulpit on your own. All of a sudden, here's this woman emerging that has been trained and prepared, not only by God, but also by walking next to the visionary. But those that worshipped my husband and not the God that he served has walked away.
Exactly it.
Has walked away. Those that loved this man, that trusted him more than they trusted me, now have to learn to trust me. But remember, I'm also old schooled. Pastor Neil, remember, it is scriptural that the husband is the head of the home and Christ the church. So I come out of the house where I'm submissive to him, and then in church also he's my spiritual leader. So what happens, Joan, there is certain things that as prophets that God will show me and he won't see it. And remember, it is a fact that sometimes women are faster.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll pick up something, but I won't say anything because he's got to be there.
And you're going to still go through that isolation from others.
I'm there. So I'm doing well in the areas that I'm allowed to.
Yeah.
But I must say to you, there's people that I actually thought, wow, now I'm going to work with Sonia.
Yes.
Sonia picked the bags. Sonia didn't sympathize.
Yeah.
Sonia, when Bishop passed on, she never came to sympathize. Sonia just simply stayed away. And you sit on Facebook and you see, Sonia and Ethne is now so close. And you start looking who's grouping with who, but had it not been for God, and had I not been prepared to lead, I can only thank God. You know, Ethne, I've been praying a lot for you, but I want to thank you for this opportunity. I really honor God for what you're doing today, because many people think, because they see me out there, I profess that I'm a tool in the Master's hand. And yes, when you're a tool in the Master's hand,
also many people see you as that strong woman.
I am strong in God.
Yes.
Because I tell you why, John. If you're a tool in His hand, you need to be prepared for warfare. and you need to pick your battles.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, I'm not a replica of Bishop's sons. I'm me.
But people still want to see Bishop in you.
And that's the difficult part, because remember, there's others that are waiting for this visit. They're still not off the milk. They're still waiting for you to come and say, gaan jy so na kerk toe kom?
Yeah.
Ek het nie gekry van nie. It's COVID. Now we need to do it virtually, and I expect you to sign
step in.
And it's difficult for many people. Our
So
church is
before
mourning.
you go any further, I would like this to also come in, and I need you there. Can you ignore the pain? Because to me, it is pain not only that my partner left me, but I'm alone in this thing, right? And I find that people's walking out on me because they saw Owen,
Yeah.
Yes,
they saw Basil.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now I am actually here all on my own. So can I ignore the pain and carry on as if it is not there?
Okay. So, very hard question, because it depends on individual.
Yes.
What Ethne said and what Hilda says, and God had established His tabernacle in your house. And God said that He'll be your husband and He'll be all of these things. And for the time, God will comfort and He'll do all of those things that He needs to. That's God now. But we find the human element that is hard, that is cold, that doesn't care, that will tell you you're not like your husband.
If Bishop was here.
If Bishop was here, he would have done 1, 2, and 3, and 4.
But
So the pain, allow me. So the pain will be inflicted sometimes by those who you are surrounded by.
Absolutely.
And the pain will be there. To lose a loved one is pain on that level. But God comforts, as you see how these two ladies have found, they have found themselves in God, yet the pain is still there.
Yes.
And like I said last week, that the grieving process could be 10 years, it could be
Yeah,
forever.
yeah.
And the grieving process does not exclude being happy and being joyful and all that.
Yes. No.
Once again, coming back to birthdays, celebrations, Father's Day, all of
Yes.
those things.
First this and the
There's-
first that. yeah.
My goodness, it will always be. So,
And you
I think
can't ignore
you
it.
can't ignore the pain. You can't ignore the pain. But sometimes when I take the two ladies here today, Hilda and Ethne, that the pain will be inflicted, or from people who are cold towards where you are, and they want to compare you with how Owen was. Owen used to, we would have done this now, and so the comparison, and that sometimes bring the hurt, and nobody who's compared to someone else will ever be comfortable in the presence of those people that make them uncomfortable. So what do? You retract and you become quiet and take a back seat.
Yes.
And then they say
Or you
goodbye.
don't even, you know what, because being in ministry, Pastor Neil, there's such a lot of things that's happening, and I think from a personal perspective, I feel that the church needs to be there for the
Exactly.
wounded.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's not just the wounded that needs to be saved. It's the wounded that is here next to
To
you,
you.
my neighbor. It's my sister.
Yeah.
You
It's
know
my
what I'm
mother.
saying? It's my mother. It's the first lady that is in the church per se. You know what I'm saying? So I feel the church needs to be there when something like that happens.
Yeah.
And I wonder, in this perspective, is the church there? I don't want to just ask you just to
Yeah.
but we'll talk about that
Yeah.
off air. But I want to ask one thing to Sonia. I know I didn't prepare you on that. We were going to do a practical on this. We were going to do a practical just to try and help you over the edge, you know. But we will do that. We will. We commit that we're still going to do that, right? So I want to ask Sonia, how do you get back to yourself? You know, if I look at these two strong women, and I thank God that they're in Christ, honestly speaking, and know it that you are not alone. You are never alone. You are not alone. You have sisters, right?
Yes.
And even though a congregation will walk out on you, you have sisters.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You have sisters and you have brothers, you know, who knows that pain and who's willing to walk with you through it all.
That's right.
And it's just something to me that is like, I don't even know how to put it, Sons, that I was this person,
And now I need to become this.
and now I need to become
That person.
alone.
Okay. I'm so glad that when Ethne share also is where she admit where she is at, she's currently.
Yeah.
And that's the first process of really getting through it. You need to admit where I'm at now. For instance, when I came in and assist Ethne through a practical technique to go through the process where she's currently, the environment she finds herself, abilities that she has within herself, we're going to look at those things.
Yes.
Identity, what does she say about herself? What does people say around her about herself? We're going to look at a vision and a mission for herself. But it's all logical, practical steps that we're going to go through. And on the steps, we're going to do questions. And based on the questions that I'm going to go through with her, she's going to come up with the answers within her,
Herself,
who she really wants to become now. Who is Ethne really?
Yeah.
So it's really important also. The first thing is the environment where she finds herself in, you know. And I like what she said, the environment in her house. So what I can say is, in the situations like this, even with Pastor Hilda's sons, it's very important also to go through that practical exercise. Talking it's okay. Talking, we can talk all day.
Yes.
But it works for me. I mean, I've been through a lot of things in my life.
Because the practical, you put yourself
and
back
all
there.
the techniques help me. So we can really do, you know, a practical session that's not just going to help Ethne, but it's going to help so many others as well.
Yeah.
That feels like I'm lost. I don't know where I'm coming or going. And even before, like Pastor Neil was saying, you met Pastor Owen, you were your own self person. So we need to get back to that now. And to get to that is a process that we're going to go through practically. So I would really, one day maybe if we're going to have an opportunity, even if it's not on the show, we're going to do it, you know, on our own.
Yes.
But that is a step forward that's really going to help, that I can bring to the table.
Yeah,
to
because you
help
see, our
others.
time is so limited. We only have an hour, and I really would wanted to do that, but unfortunately we won't be able to. If I look at these two beautiful people, it is just so, you know, within yourself you feel like Lord, I don't know what will I do, but if I look at those beauties, when you look, you know, I can't help it. When I look at yous, I see them. It's because wherever I used to get you,
I was always
you were with him.
Yes.
The same with you.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden the cold hand of death came in and ripped you apart. And now it is that where you have to say, how do I move on further?
That's right.
What do I do from here?
Yes.
You know, because we all don't have the same personalities, right?
Yeah.
And you find people that have that tenacity. So if I look at Hilda, she have that personality of, I'm gonna go for it.
That's right.
I know what is locked up inside of me. Not that Ethne don't have it, but her personality is a little different.
That's right.
It's totally different, you know. So how do I move forward is our next thing. What is it that you do to put yourself into that shoes, you know, as I am doing right now? It seems like I'm in that. And I asked myself, if something like this must happen to me, what will I do? You know, running this big church, even though we're independent. I don't know. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? God forbid. You know. And then bringing the closure. When you at the graveside, I could not find a
It's fine.
a pic of your closure. Standing there at the end, I don't know what's the time looking like? Are we over our time?
We're over done.
Okay. So guys, we're just gonna end it off here, but I would love to know, standing there at the graveside, what goes through your mind just quickly, because we're over our time.
Yeah.
Just quickly, what goes through your mind when you have to say goodbye? That's your final goodbye now. You're putting him in that hole.
I don't think I thought about it at that moment. At that moment, I was at a funeral of my husband, and I needed to stand strong. And remember, this is a man, a dignified man that I'm giving a send-off, and everything had to go well because I respected him, and I will always think of him like that. And my children, and at that moment, I was the pillar, and I stood up for my mother-in-law and everybody else in my family. That was what went through my mind at that grave. I stood there, and I was watching to see who
And
needs
then
me.
afterwards,
And when I got home, there was still the few family members.
Yeah.
And you talk about it, and you stand. And one thing about this God, and people won't believe it until they're in this thing. God is so awesome. When you get squeezed, He is there. There's that voice at me that's going to guide you, sweetie. He's going to tell you what to do. People think I'm unreal. I'm sure other people think I'm fake. I am in ministry for so many years. And he has
but you see,
sustained
that's
me.
why I say the personalities.
I really don't want to
totally
lie to you. At
different.
that time, can I quickly say, I'm not going to be long, Xavier. What I want to say is this, Pastor Neil. But when we had to bury my husband, I needed to stand strong because the right person had to do the funeral, the message, the correct people needed to be there because this is your king and priest. It has to be
yeah,
you.
yeah.
So
And you want a dignified,
yes,
because that was what he was
to me and to our family and to the people that knew and respected him. So later on, when it really kicks in, you open the wardrobe,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
that perfume comes
Yeah,
out.
and yeah.
You have to move this bottle in. Or you prepare this breakfast, because for 2 years I was at home on retirement, and we did things together, and see how graceful God was. He allowed me for 2 years to prepare breakfast, and we would eat it together, and he would go and do a lesson and come back for lunch, and we would eat together. Or you would say, babes, moenie kookie, ons gaan, ek ga jou kom haal. En eet ons het 'n chicken licken.
Ja, ja,
Het ons
ja.
dit saam gedoen.
Ja.
Maar ek het ons 1 ijscream gekoop, want het was lekker met hy 1 potjie te eet. So those are the things that make me weep. 2 weeks ago, I was crying on the highway in my car. I was, die huil soos die stilte kind huil. I missed him next to me, want hy was sy instructor self vir my. Ek sê, Sans, ek dink jy moet 'n bietjie lane change. And he normally would say to me, ek dryf. And then later I became chick and said, ek dryf. Then he says, change, lane. He's got to change and say, kom terug, ek dink die lane is funny. So you miss all those things.
Right. So now, you see, like now in your situation, you're totally different.
Because we couldn't even open the coffin.
Sure.
Can you just put that mic this side?
So with COVID, it makes it 10 times worse
Yes.
because you...
Yes.
In fact, it's so cold because now the other day I was thinking, I hope he wasn't in the coffin.
Yes.
Because I didn't, and I'm hoping he's still going to walk through. And you have to rely on the undertakers to dress him, to give him that.
Yes,
You
yes.
don't see him laying in his suit the way he was
Yes.
laying. None of us had that opportunity to say goodbye.
That's real.
Because that, I think, brings closure.
Absolutely.
It does.
And for his brothers and sisters and all of us, we feel like we don't have proper
Yes.
closure because we didn't see him. We just seen this coffin. The undertakers brought it, and we have to believe
that it's
that
him.
it's him. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is exactly I wanna really latch onto that because with us it was the same thing. We couldn't
Yes.
really say
Yes.
our
Is it,
final
goodbyes. Yeah. Because the coffin just gives you something else where you can, and when you let the coffin down, but now
Yes.
you have to just.
No.
Yeah, you have to
you
believe.
just
my
have to
blood.
believe this is my
Yes.
loved one that I'm burying here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we came to the end of the show, and we want to thank everybody who actually tuned in to this show. I hope it helped someone out there. Thank you so very much. We love you. We pray for you, and we know that God's going to carry us through this a pandemic that is hitting our country and even the world. But yes, you are not alone. You are never alone. Remember that if God is for us, who can be against us? So from our side, from my side, I love you. God loves you best. Go in the peace of the Lord. Stay safe and shalom.